You are listening to the Nightline Sports Network, brought to you by Travis Dever and the Dever team, 386-690-1636.
Welcome to the AAC Report, only on the Nightline Sports Network. I'm Jeff Allen. Coming up, we'll do a check-in on Temple men's basketball. Ryan Wallen of Owls 24/7 will be here to help us break down the season for the Owls to date. He will join us in just a few moments. Looking at the standings, the Houston Cougars up to number 6 in the nation, 7-0 leading the conference, 18-2 overall. SMU just a half game back at 7-1 in conference, 16-4 overall. Tulane hanging tough with a 6-3 mark in conference, 9-9 overall. Cincinnati at 5-3 in conference, 15-6 overall, followed up by Temple, who we'll talk about here in a moment, 4-3 in conference, 11-7 overall. The players of the week in men's hoops, it's a shared honor this week. Marcus Weathers, the SMU forward, helped lead the Mustangs, averaging 22 points, 6.5 rebounds in wins at South Florida on Wednesday and Temple on Saturday. In the game against the Owls, he posted 27 points and 9 rebounds and shot 73% for the week, 17-23 from the field. The co-player of the week, Jalen Cook of Tulane, has helped them by averaging 23 points and 3.5 assists in home wins over Tulsa and Wichita State. The freshman of the week, Josh Minot of Memphis, a double-double with 13 points, 12 rebounds, and 2 blocks off the bench as Memphis beat East Carolina last Thursday. Turning to the hardwood on the women's side, UCF leading the conference at 7-1, 15-3 overall. South Florida 6-1 in conference, 16-5 overall. They are followed by SMU at 3-1 in conference, 9-7 overall, and Temple 4-3 in the AAC, 9-9 overall. The player of the week, Diamond Battles of UCF, behind a 2-0 week for them last week, averaged 17.5 points, 4.5 rebounds, and 5 assists per game, shooting 58.3% from the field, leading all guards in the conference. Had her 5th 20-point game this season with 21 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists in their comeback win over Tulane. Had 14-5 and 2 steals in a victory at Wichita State. The freshman of the week, Tamara Poindexter of Tulsa, averaged 9 points, 4 rebounds, 3.5 assists, and 3 blocks per game in a 1-1 week for the Golden Hurricane. She had 11 points and a pair of assists in the win against Memphis, then had 7 points and 7 boards with 5 assists and 6 blocks. Quite a stat line, even though they lost against Cincinnati. All right, our college basketball check-ins continue next with Ryan Wallen of Owls 24/7 as we take a look at things going on at Temple. That's coming up next when the AAC report continues after this.
Hey, this is Travis Dever, Kai's Real Estate, the Dever team, New Smyrna Beach. Your source for real estate and everything else, New Smyrna Beach. Proud sponsor of Nightline. Call me anytime at 386-690-1636. That's 386-690-1636. Let me show you my hometown, New Smyrna Beach, UCF's favorite beach. Go Knights and charge on.
An auto accident can change your life forever. At Chad Barr Law, we are raising the bar on what to expect from your personal injury attorney. Hi, I'm Chad Barr, and I want you to know that our entire team is dedicated to providing you with the representation you deserve in your greatest time of need. If you or a loved one have been injured in an auto accident, call 407-599-9036 for a free consultation or visit chadbarlaw.com. At Chad Barr Law, our clients come to us in need and leave as family. Offices, Altamont Springs.
Looking for more out of your Porsche? Look no further than Flat6Motorsports.com. They have the widest selection of aftermarket Porsche parts anywhere in the world. With over 85 product lines and in-depth expertise, Flat6Motorsports.com is your one-stop shop for any Porsche performance needs. Whether you're shopping for intakes, exhausts, suspension, or tuning, they have you covered. Flat6Motorsports.com is the premier Porsche aftermarket specialist. Check them out at Flat6Motorsports.com.
All right, my pleasure to welcome back to the show Ryan Wallen from Owls 24/7 as we check in on Temple basketball. Ryan, thanks for being back on.
Of course, Jeff. Always a pleasure to be on with you.
Yeah, so let's talk about the Owls season to date. 4-3 in conference, 11-7 overall. What would be your assessment to this point of the season?
You know, I think that considering where we are in the circumstances that have happened to the Owls since earlier in the year, I think, honestly, they're exceeding expectations right now. It really hurt once Caleb Battle went down with his injury in that game against LaSalle, in which he broke his foot. You know, he was a guy that was proven to be the Owls' leading scorer, and he looked like he was going to be that next superstar player for the Owls, averaging 21.4 points per game before he went down with that injury. And, you know, I think a lot of Temple fans wrote the season off after Battle got injured, and that really kind of hurt attendance for a little bit. I'm sure you saw some of the stuff going around on Twitter with John Rothstein from CBS and all that with, you know, the attendance was really bad at Temple kind of after that. And it was admittedly so, but there were other circumstances that played into that with, you know, spring or winter break and all in there. But, you know, the fans have slowly started to come back because Temple's winning, and they're winning in late games, close games. And that's something that's good to see, especially for a team that currently is starting 4 freshmen and a sophomore right now in their starting lineup. And I don't think many people expected that to see this sort of production so far from these young guys like Leo White, Zach Hicks. They've been contributing early on, and that shows that there's a bright future here, and that maybe Aaron McKee did really good evaluations on these guys. He got these guys into Temple, and, you know, maybe next year's the year for Temple to finally turn the corner now once they get Battle back.
Yeah, and you talk about that 4 freshmen. I know Jaleel White's gotten a couple of Freshman of the Week honors during the course of the season. What has, you know, made these young guys click?
You know, I think it's just the fact that it's this mentality that Aaron preaches that kind of goes back to the Chaney era of, you know, this brotherhood and this, you know, tough, you guys are the underdogs. You're going to be brothers. You're going to play tough defense, and you're going to be able to go out there and scrap with guys. And I think that's what you've seen is this team has prided itself on being dogs on defense, and they are excellent on the defensive end. And I remember it was the other night, Jeremiah Williams, the point guard for Temple, he was chasing around Kendrick Davis from SMU, and like he was just nonstop back and forth for all 30 seconds of that. And I mean, he's running from sideline to sideline, and you just see him chasing, and he doesn't give up. And that's the type of defense that Aaron McKee wanted to see play. And, you know, that's the type of defense that Chaney instituted at Temple, you know, when Aaron was a player. And I think that's what you're seeing. That's what's allowing them to click. Their brotherhood, obviously being all in the same class and having, you know, come into Temple together, spent a lot of time together since all coming in and signing with the Owls. They've been able to establish this really strong bond between them that's allowing them to click, and it's working so far.
Yeah, it looks to me, too, like they've established that mentality of group rebounding, because not one individual has a huge amount of rebounds, but collectively across, you know, especially with the guards, you know, getting 3 and 4 boards a game, that's definitely got to be a factor as well.
Yeah, and that's been something that Temple has struggled with in recent years, was crashing the glass. And you know, they still don't have a real big on the floor, a true center, true 5 on the floor. Forrester was probably the closest thing you could have to that, but he hasn't played here recently due to a non-COVID related illness and some other stuff going on. So, you know, you've seen more of these 4 or 5 guard lineups in for Temple, and that's helping them, and they're doing an excellent job. And I mean, Jeremiah Williams came up big last week in that Cincinnati game with a game-sealing rebound at the end of the game there off a missed 3. He out-rebounded a 7'1" center on Cincinnati, and you don't see too many point guards going out there out-rebounding a 7'1" center. But just that thing that's that group rebounding mentality that you talk about has really turned around. And, you know, Temple's, again, preached that defensive side of the ball. Don't let them get extra possessions. Don't let them, you know, get extra shots. Let them get those second and third chance points, because that's where the Owls have been hurt in the past couple years under Aaron. And now it seems to be clicking again that, this is going to be a team that's going to crash the glass, and they're going to try and run the other way on you and get their points that way.
And after Battle went down, is it safe to say that Damian Dunn became the leader?
Yeah, I think that's very safe to say. He had a stretch there where he had a couple game winners in a row there late in games. That one against ECU, I'm sure, really stung for the Pirate fans, considering he's from Kingston, North Carolina, and ECU recruited him, but obviously didn't end up going there. But yeah, he's just a guy that's a floor manager. He's become a guy that's a scorer. And this year, he was thought of in the past as this guy that was drive to the hoop, and he would draw contact, and he'd be a guy to get the foul line. And that's where most of his points came from. Wasn't really a guy that was thought of as being a shooter. And he's stepped up his jump shot game a lot. He's become a really reliable 3-point shooter now. And that's just all this development that we're saying is going on right now. And I think that Battle injury actually, kind of is going to help Temple in the long run, as unfortunate it is to say for Battle, because I'm sure he'd love to be out there, and we'd love to be seeing him out there considering how prolific of a scorer he is. But, this is just letting these guys get this experience to, Battle's not going to have to be the only one that teams are going to have to account for moving forward.
And as we mentioned, 4-3 in conference, and Temple played both Houston and SMU at the top of the conference in tight games. They definitely acquitted for themselves very well. How would you look at the remainder of the season now that we hit February? This is really when you know what your team is all about. Yeah,
and Saturday's game against SMU was a good game, and that was a game Temple probably should have closed out, and maybe a couple weeks ago would have closed out, because they had been winning these tight games, and it kind of was roles reversed where they had to come back, they came back, they got the lead, and then they kind of let it slip away, and that hadn't been a thing for them. They kind of had been getting the lead and then holding the lead and winning these close games, and that was really the first one that they kind of let slip away. Good reality check for them, I assume. Now heading into a stretch of games where I see some fairly winnable ones on the slate, with ECU on Wednesday, Tulsa this coming Saturday, South Florida's at the bottom of the conference, so that's a game you hope you can win. And then Tulane, who's kind of been very up and down, up in conference, but very down out of conference. So that's going to be a big question mark for the Owls, but I think that'll be a nice game where they hopefully don't overlook Tulane, and they can go into New Orleans and come away with a win. And then after that, then you get a tough stretch again. You get SMU at home, Cincinnati on the road, Memphis on the road, and then you close out with Tulane, Houston, USF. So hopefully there's a couple games there you can maybe steal, maybe upset Houston before the conference title or conference championships the following week. Maybe not. Hopefully it's still a good showing, even though Houston was down a couple guys when they met a couple weeks ago. But, I see a pretty favorable slate for them the rest of the year. I think, again, like I said, they're exceeding expectations right now, considering the Battle injury and Forrester not playing. So 2 of their starting 5 from the season opener are currently not on the playing right now. And they're sitting at 11-7. I think there's a possibility to get to 17, 18 wins right now before the conference tournament starts. And, maybe you sneak into one of the postseason tournaments. I don't think NCAA is realistic right now, but definitely NIT's on the table. Maybe CBI's on the table if Temple's willing to put the money out there just to get some of these young guys the feel for playing in, a postseason tournament.
Yeah, and of course, it looks like the American is probably going to be a 2-bid league at best as it stands right now. And so, winning the conference tournament, Temple could be one of those teams you may not want to face. Yeah, as scrappy as they are. So it could be interesting there.
Yep, and definitely they're in line for possibly a first round bye there. So that always gives them a good advantage, considering you don't have to play 4 games in 4 days and rather 3 games in 4 days. So that always least gives you a little extra energy, and hopefully you don't come out flat in that second game if you make it to that second game. And Temple has not had good luck on that first day of the conference tournament in recent memory. So hopefully they can avoid playing on that first day.
And of course, you mentioned, you felt like they're exceeding expectations. So how would you? Certainly that is a favorable rating for Aaron McKee and the job he's doing, and it's probably nice to have one of Temple's own, commanding the team.
Yeah, I think for sure. And it's good to see Aaron finally getting some guys going, getting things going. Cause the beginning of the season, some people thought he might've been on the hot seat if this year didn't go well, and then start of next season didn't go well. Maybe the Owls started looking in a different direction, especially with a new athletic director, new president at the university. And I know firsthand that the new president and the new athletic director, they're committed to winning and they expect to win. So if you're not producing, you're going to see the door very soon. So I don't think that played a factor. I think it's just the fact that it's now year 2 with most of these guys on the team. These guys are clicking. Aaron's getting to establish more of the culture there that he wanted to. And, they're starting to see those results pan out.
And of course, since you and I spoke last, the football season has concluded, and there's been a change at the helm as far as Temple football is concerned. What can you tell us about Stan Drayton?
I think Stan Drayton's that type of guy. He's a player's coach, and he's a guy that is a no nonsense guy. He's kind of like that old school type of coach. Grew up in, an Urban Meyer system at Florida, coached with Met Ohio State. He's coached with guys like Sarkisian. He's coached with guys, just that are winners. And he has that winning mentality. And he himself as an assistant has won a couple national titles. So he knows what it takes. And he's been in programs that have that mentality about them. And I think that's what he's trying to establish on North Broad. And so far, I think he's done an excellent job. Obviously with signing day Wednesday, it's kind of crazy right now, especially given that the staff had to go out and really bust their butts to get a recruiting class together and get these guys to want to come to a program that's only won 4 games in the last 2 seasons. But I think so far they're doing an excellent job. He did a really good job hiring experienced coaches for a guy that hasn't been a head coach before and, has only been a position coach. He hired really good coordinators that have a lot of P5 experience. He hired guys that have been in the business 20 plus years to advise him, to be on his staff. And I think that he's doing everything you want as a Temple fan to see a coach do, especially after the disaster that was the Rod Carey era and how that unfortunately ended for Rod and his staff. But, I think I've heard some players already go on the record and say, like, they feel like this is a whole different era. They feel like this is back to, the Collins era where it's more of, energy in the room. There's more hype about the program. Things are excited. They feel like the coach really cares about them and he loves them. And he seems to have built that relationship with them already. And he's willing to make these guys men off the field as much as they are on the field.
What would you say was the problem with the Rod Carey era? I mean, it's unfortunate, the COVID situation, because it's kind of hard to build a program, trying to elevate it with those circumstances. What do you think was the ultimate failure?
I think that the ultimate failure, speaking from what I've heard from high school coaches in Philadelphia, some of the players have said, is that he kind of shut people out. As odd as it may sound, it kind of seems like he shut out some of the coaches and the schools in the Philadelphia area, which not sure why you would do, considering that, that's where a lot of the talent is, especially when it's right in your backyard. And didn't seem like they were really hitting the recruiting trail there. And some coaches felt like Temple kind of shut the door on them. They got rid of the open door policy for high school coaches to come into Temple and watch practices, which was a little odd. And I think he kind of lost the locker room from what it sounds like, that the single digit tradition was sort of going by the wayside and no real leaders were emerging. That kind of was odd. Nothing confirmed on that spot that it was going to go away, but the fact that no single digits ever came about this season, and in the last couple that were left were all fifth year seniors who were graduating at the end of the year, it kind of seemed like, that was going by the wayside. And that's something that Temple really prides itself on. And, that's something Al Golden started at Temple. Super Bowl coach Al Golden now with the Bengals. Shout out to Al. But that's something he started, and then Matt Rule continued at Temple. And that's something that these players vie for. They're vying to become a single digit because they want to be known for being one of these guys that are tough both on the field and off the field. And I think that kind of lost the locker room a bit, and it just seemed like he kind of shut some people out. There was some controversy obviously on Twitter about the strength staff doing something with a player as far as harassing him. Don't know if that was even true, but it kind of went down the toilet quickly, and obviously closing the season with 7 straight losses and all by 20 plus points, it didn't help his cause. So I think it was the right time. Like I said, especially with the new athletic director and Arthur Johnson, I think it was time to make that move. And from what I heard, they got people that wanted to come to Temple. It was former Temple coaches, assistants that were there that interviewed for the job. Drayton was obviously the guy that Arthur felt most comfortable with. And I think the players are seeing that right now, that even though it's not a former Temple assistant, it's a guy that knows that culture and he knows what it's going to take to win.
Outstanding. And of course, Ryan, we always get new listeners to the show. So please, shameless plugs for your coverage of the Temple Owls.
Awesome. You can always follow me on Twitter at Ryan Wallen 247, or you can visit our site at owlsdaily.com or at owlsdaily247 on Twitter.
Outstanding. As always, Ryan, thanks a bunch.
Thanks, Jeff, for having me on. Appreciate it.
And we'll be right back to check other news and notes around the AAC right after this.
If you haven't figured it out yet, I love Tijuana Flats. I would love them even if they weren't a partner with us on the Nightline Sports Network. They have all kinds of great Tex-Mex food, and it's fresh, by the way. Made to order burritos, tacos, enchiladas, chimichangas, quesadillas, bowls, nachos, and taco salads. And if you haven't tried the queso, you are completely missing out. It is the best queso that I've ever had in my life. Absolutely hands down. And the sauce bar that they have, everything from wild to mild in there. Absolutely awesome, awesome stuff. Not only do I love the food at Tijuana Flats, but I love the company, a UCF-born company. And they give back to the community with the Justin Queso Foundation. So head to your local Tijuana Flats. Tex-Mex for everyone. Hey Jeep Wrangler owners, have you ever sat in your office at work and watched the rain just pour into your Jeep because the weatherman said that there was a 0 chance of rain? Or you put your doors back on because there was a 100% chance and then not a drop of rain fell? Well, there's a company out there that can help take the worry away and give you the peace of mind to be without your doors. The company's called Life Without Doors. They make waterproof rain curtains and dash covers for Wranglers. Life Without Doors is there to help make the decision to leave the doors at home an easy one. Find out more at lifewithoutdoors.com.
Spice up your company with homemade marketing services from Tasty Gravy Creative. Tasty Gravy serves up a menu of budget-friendly marketing, graphic design, and public relations services customized to your specific goals. Co-owned by a UCF graduate, Tasty Gravy can help refresh your brand, strengthen your online presence, or reinforce your company's message. Contact Tasty Gravy for help with your website, social media, marketing, advertising materials, and more. Visit tastygravy.com.
And now let's check in on indoor track and field honors. For those, we look at the men's side first. Isaac Akers of Tulsa had a runner-up effort in the men's mile at the Washburn Open. Nearly broke the 4-minute mark with a time of 4 minutes, 0.85 seconds to take second place. and that leads the American in the mile this season. The men's field athlete of the week, Cole Riddle of Memphis, opened his career with a victory in the pole vault at the PNC Lenny Lyles Invitational, cleared 5.36 meters, that's 17 feet 7 inches, to claim his first vault win since transferring to the Tigers program. And that mark is also tied with the leading American and ranked 14th in the nation. The women's track athlete of the week is Ellie Leather of Cincinnati. Had a school record in the mile during the PMC Lenny Lyles Invitational, logging a time of 4:36.83 to take the win at the meet by nearly 4 full seconds. That paces the American as the top time in the conference, 13th in the NCAA this season. The women's field athlete of the week, Nu'u'o Tulafano of Houston, earned a second shot put win this season by pacing the field at the Houston G5 and Super 22 Invitational. Covered 17.10 meters, that's 56 feet, 1.25 inches on the sixth and final throw to take the event victory. And that makes her the conference leader in the shot put this season and ranked 7th nationally as of the beginning of February. Turning now to swimming, the men's swimming athlete of the week, Michael Balsarek of Cincinnati, closed the regular season with a strong swim in the 200 butterfly and a dual meet with number 9 Louisville. He swam his second fastest 200 fly of the year in 1:45.69 to take the race win with an NCAA cut time against the Cardinals. Added a runner-up showing the 500 freestyle for 27.69 in that meet. The women's swimming athlete of the week is Gabby Grobler of SMU. Got to the podium twice in a dual meet showdown with Texas A&M. Placed second in the 200 individual medley with a time of 2:03.31 and added a third place showing in the 100 backstroke with a clock time of 56.67 seconds. And she's the leader in the American in both the 200 individual medley and the 100 backstroke this season. Turning now to tennis, the women's tennis player of the week is Aaron Garcia. Went 2-0 in both singles and doubles play to lead Memphis to dual match wins against Xavier and South Florida last week. The men's tennis player of the week, Nicholas Acevedo of Wichita State, won a pair of 3-set matches at number 2 singles and won his only completed double set to lead the Shockers to a split of their 2 dual matches at the ITA season kickoff last week. So that is he's now 3-1 in singles and 4-0 in doubles in the dual match portion of the season. And turning to lacrosse, the Florida Gators are picked in the preseason coaches poll as the top team, coming in at first, Temple at second, along with Vanderbilt in a tie, Cincinnati 4th, East Carolina 5th, Old Dominion 6th. The preseason honors go this way for the attack player of the year, Gabby Fournier of Vanderbilt. The preseason midfield of the year, Belle Mastro Pietro of Temple. The preseason defensive player of the year, Emma Whiteman of Florida. The AAC preseason goalkeeper of the year, Sarah Resnick of Florida. The all-conference team shapes up like this. It's Danny Nookvi of Cincinnati, along with their teammates Peyton Modis and Kylie Naus. Nicole Lagar of East Carolina, and several Florida Gators, Becky Browndorf, Paisley Egan, Emily Hellard, Danielle Pavanelli, Sarah Resnick, Edna Whiteman. Lily Siskine is on the team from Old Dominion, Belle Mastro Pietro of Temple, along with her teammates Mackenzie Roth and Katie Shallow. And from Vanderbilt, the foursome of Gabby Fournier, Bree Gross, Melissa Hawkins, and Maddie Sousa. Still weird to talk about Florida being in the AAC, but that is how it shapes up for women's lacrosse. And that's going to do it for this week's show. As always, please follow me on Twitter at JeffAllen_88. And you can follow the Nightline Sports Network at UCF_Nightline. This has been the AAC Report only of the Nightline Sports Network. I'm Jeff Allen. Thanks for listening.